Morning, and welcome back to Bible Break, our weekly 15 minutes together in the scriptures. And we're in Genesis chapter 25, and I think that we're going to find in this chapter that the sting is in the tail, as it were, that, possibly the main thing to get us thinking and responding will be what comes at the end of the chapter. But let's get going then, because we're going to read the whole chapter. Genesis 25. The subheading in my NIV is the death of Abram, but it certainly doesn't begin with that, because there's plenty of life left in Abraham by the looks of it. Let's get going and you'll see what I'm on about. So Genesis chapter 25. Abram took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Ashurites, the Letushites, and the Leomites. The sons of Midian were Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Elda. All these were the descendants of Keturah. Abram left everything he owned to Isaac. So it's through Isaac that your seed will be blessed and will be a blessing. But he doesn't cast aside everybody else. While he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east, where we saw that he did a similar thing with Hagar and Ishmael, didn't he? But no doubt the reason behind that was to avoid them treading on each other's toes in the future. Altogether, Abram lived 175 years. Then Abram breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar, the Hittite, the field Abram had bought from the Hittites. You may recall that we read about that a few weeks ago. There Abram was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abram's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer-lahai Roi. This is the account of Abram's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's maid servant Hagar the Egyptian bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, listed in the order of their birth: Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael; Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. These were Ishmael's sons, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. So, God has accomplished his promise to Ishmael and his mother Hagar that he would make of Ishmael a great nation. There are 12 sons and 12 tribes that come from him, as is listed here. We'll have to wait for Jacob now. We'll have the 12 sons of Israel and the 12 tribes of Israel that will come from that. But Ishmael, in one sense, at least in biblical terms, here is one step ahead, in that here we have the sons and the names of the sons and the tribes listed straight off. So, God has fulfilled his promise to make a great nation of Ishmael. That's not to be sniffed at, of course. So then we got, these were Ishmael's sons, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Altogether, Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the border of Egypt as you go towards Ashur, I'm thinking Syria and Assyria here as I read those words. I don't know if I'm right. And they lived in hostility towards all their brothers. So not a tremendous note to finish on there for Ishmael, but still. Jacob and Esau. Now the narrative narrows down now to to Rebekah and Isaac. Isaac, the son of Abraham, and the twin sons that are in Rebekah's womb. This is what we're going to be concentrating on now. Jacob and Esau. This is the account of Abraham's son Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean, from Paddan Aram, the sister of Laban, the Aramean. That's what we saw the last chapter. By the way, when I said that Abram was basically Iraqi, coming from that area, Mesopotamia, there's a verse in scripture, my father was a wandering Aramean. It looks as if Abram was technically of Aramean stock because they married within the family and within their own people, didn't they? But there we go. Verse 21, Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. So he's facing the same problems as Abram faced with Sarah. The Lord answered his prayer and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her. And she said, why is this happening to me? So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 people from within you will be separated. 1 people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. So it's the younger, obviously, who's going to be the stronger in due course. But I bet it isn't every day that the gynecologist says that to, or the obstetrician says that to them. Verse 24, when the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment, so they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out, with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so he was named Jacob. So Jacob, Esau, the name means red, I believe. Such was his colour, his aspect. But Jacob means usurper, really. That's the meaning of the name Jacob. Not a very nice name to be given in the first place, perhaps. But there we are. It's not about niceness. It's about what's actually going on in God's plan. And we can see with Jacob that he's at it from the birth, grabbing hold of his brother's heel, because it's Jacob who wants to be the first, not Esau. So Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to these 2 twin brothers. Esau the elder, Jacob the younger. Esau out first, Jacob next. Verse 27, the boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So Esau was what you might call a man's man. He was the one who had to get out and about. He was the tough guy in some ways, or at least the athletic sort, running around in the fields, hunting. And Esau's father, Isaac, loved Esau because, of course, what Esau brought back from the hunt, Isaac ate and enjoyed every minute of it. Meanwhile, Jacob, mummy's boy, but no question of that, was at home with mum in the kitchen. Not really a man's man by the look of it. So, that's what you've got here with these 2 brothers. And here we have Jacob at the stove. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew. Now, this was the sting in the tail. This is the little story I was telling us, or telling you. I'm the one telling that this is what we have to look out for at the end of this story, at the end of this chapter. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom, and apparently Edom as well means red. There we are. Here we go. Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright." I don't know about you, but that comes to me as a bit of a shock, even now, having gone over this story a few times. "Look, I'm about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. Now, I'm going to start off, obviously, with a word of sympathy for Esau, in that it seems to me that when he says to Jacob, "Look, I'm about to die," maybe he was exaggerating, but I think he was really hungry. I think he was really thirsty. I think he was really exhausted. I think he really was in some discomfort, is what I'm trying to say. So, let's bear that in mind and have a little sympathy for Esau, perhaps. But Jacob doesn't have any sympathy. And maybe the text, maybe the word of God, the Bible, doesn't have as much sympathy for Esau as the rest of us might be tempted to have, because the whole chapter and this little story here ends with the words, "So Esau despised his birthright." But you see, at the same time that Esau was despising his birthright, Jacob was cherishing the notion, cherishing the idea that he might inherit, that he might have the birthright, that the birthright might belong to him. So Jacob wasn't despising the birthright. At the same time, we might think rather, perhaps despicably is too strong a word, but we might really turn our noses up at the fact that we can see Jacob here seizing his chance and taking full advantage of his brother's weakness and discomfort. But he doesn't balk at that. And in the twinkling of an eye, Esau, it seems, is, to relieve himself, to get fed and watered and, revive a bit. Esau doesn't think twice about casting his birthright to the wind, or more accurately, giving it to his brother, and so that he can get the relief that he so desperately needs, it seems. But the birthright, which was his, the blessing and the good pleasure of his father, which he enjoyed every day, the advantages of the birthright in time to come, none of this mattered to Esau in the moment. And when I say the sting in the tail, we obviously, as we read the Bible, we don't need to be looking down our noses at people like Esau. We need to be thinking about ourselves and our own birthright, whether you're a Christian or not. What is your birthright? What are your rights, civilizational rights? How ready would you be or might you have been in the course of your life, to forego your rights in order to you know profit from meeting the need of the the moment, your immediate need, as opposed to that which is of eternal worth, eternal value. That's the pretty poignant, pretty challenging question that we're faced with here, because you see the law, such as it is or exists, to protect, or should protect, what are our natural, inalienable rights. And whereas it's still at the present time, it is falling far short of that. The question that this little story in this chapter in the end puts to us should provoke a good deal of soul searching within us, because it doesn't concern us, just us, it concerns future generations, of course. So I'll leave you with that questioning, and I'll see you next time.